Everyone was shocked. It's a big challenge and I like it. I like to accept it.
$10 million. That is the smallest number Sportico is willing to attach to Alex Eala's off-court earnings.
For him, it's a lose-lose. For me, it's the win-win, right?
Between July 2025 and June 2026.
And deal with this life of being, Michael Jordan in the Philippines.
And the sponsors are still circling, still lining up, still writing new offers into the margins.
I have never really the biggest server in comparison to a lot of the girls here.
It is the kind of figure that is supposed to arrive after a Grand Slam, after a coronation, after a career-defining final on a Sunday in Paris or New York. Eala has not played a Grand Slam final. She has not won a WTA main tour title. As of the WTA's June 29th, 2026 numeric rankings list, she is world number 32 with a season record of 27 wins and 17 losses and career prize money of $871,438. The prize money and the endorsement money are not in the same universe. They are not even in the same conversation, and that gap, that strange, widening, almost impossible gap between what she has technically achieved on court and what the market has already decided she is worth off it, is the story tennis has quietly been telling itself for the last 12 months. To understand why that gap exists, you have to understand what happened on center court on the 4th of July, 2026. Eala, seated outside the top 30, walked onto Wimbledon's most famous grass and beat the defending champion Iga Świątek 7-6 in a tiebreak that stretched to 11-9 and 6-2 in the second set. 2 days later, she lost to Jasmine Paolini in the round of 16, 6-4, 4-6, 6-3, and her Wimbledon ended. But the sponsors were not circling because of a Wimbledon title. They were already there. They had been there for months. The question is why? The instinct when a young athlete becomes commercially valuable before she becomes a champion is to reach for the word hype. It is a comfortable word. It suggests that something is inflated, that a correction is coming, that the market has made a mistake it will eventually have to unwind. But the numbers are not behaving like hype. Sportico's 2026 list, which covers the 12 months ending June 30th, placed Eala inside a category of 7 women who earned at least $10 million off the court over that period, alongside Naomi Osaka. Both finished outside the top 10 highest-paid tennis players in the world. Naomi Osaka has 4 Grand Slam titles. Eala has none, and yet the same category holds them both. Which means the market is not treating Eala as a promising rookie. It is treating her as an asset class. This is where the story usually goes wrong. This is where fabricated deals appear. Over the last 18 months, Eala's name has been attached in social media posts to a $45 million Wilson Racket contract, a $2 million Emirates Airline sponsorship, and a $5 million Louis Vuitton offer supposedly delivered in person by Bernard Arnault after her first-round U.S. Open win. None of it is real. The Asian Journal, in a dedicated fact-check on Eala's endorsements, listed the Wilson, Emirates, and Louis Vuitton claims among fabricated stories that circulate on Facebook pages built to farm engagement from the Filipino diaspora. She is still under contract with Babolat. She still uses the Pure Aero 2023. And the interesting thing, the thing worth pausing on, is not that these fake deals exist. It is that they are believable enough to spread. A fabricated Louis Vuitton offer only works as a rumor if the market can plausibly imagine Louis Vuitton making it. That plausibility is the story. Here is what her actual endorsement portfolio looks like, and it is important to walk through it carefully because the real list is more revealing than the fake one. Globe Telecom, the Philippine telecommunications giant, signed her when she was 8 years old, before she had a WTA ranking, before she had a passport photo that looked anything like the player she is now. Nike outfits her on court. Babolat supplies her racket. The Bank of the Philippine Islands, one of the country's oldest financial institutions, uses her as an ambassador for financial literacy campaigns aimed at younger Filipinos. In July of 2025, she was announced as ambassador for Locally Juice, a domestic Philippine beverage brand. Every one of those partnerships is verifiable. Every one of them is documented, and every one of them together, with whatever additional deals the market is not disclosing, is what Sportico has estimated crosses the $10 million off-court threshold. Take a breath here, because this is the pivot. The story is not that Alex Eala is being overpaid. The story is that the sponsorship market has quietly decided something the ranking system has not yet caught up to. What the sponsorship market has decided is that Eala moves audiences in a way the WTA has not seen at her ranking in a very long time. At Indian Wells in March, in her tournament debut in the California desert, she drew crowds so large that Coco Gauff playing on an adjacent court addressed them directly. "Thank you guys for coming out here," Gauff said on court per the tournament's own coverage on the BNP Paribas Open site. "I know you were mostly supporting Alex, but I have to say it's great to be on a crowded court." Gauff is the reigning French Open champion. Gauff is a former U.S. Open champion, and Gauff, standing on her own court, was thanking the audience for showing up to watch someone else. That is not a Filipino diaspora story. That is not a niche story. That is a market signal. Gigi Salmon, the lead tennis presenter at Sky Sports in the United Kingdom, was even more direct when she spoke about Eala earlier this year in a Tennis 365 interview published in March. "I remember Miami last year. I spoke to her a few times on that run through to the semifinal, and the crowds were phenomenal," Salmon said. "And this year in the Middle East, it's been sensational. In Dubai, it was like a pop concert. It was like Taylor Swift was playing. People were screaming," she added. "I would say, in terms of her appeal, the crowds that follow her, she might already be the biggest star." Salmon was speaking about a player ranked outside the top 30 at the time, and she was comparing the atmosphere at her matches to a Taylor Swift concert, not to a tennis match, to a concert. This is the part where the analytical framework has to shift. Tennis sponsorship, historically, has been a lagging indicator of on-court success. You win the slam, then the endorsements follow. You break the top 10, then the luxury brands call. Eala has inverted that sequence. The market, for reasons that go beyond her results, has moved before the ranking. And the reason it has moved has less to do with what she does with a Babolat racket in her hand, and more to do with what happens in the stands and on the streams when she walks onto a court. The commercial calculation is not how many titles has she won. The commercial calculation is how many people will pay attention when she plays. And on that second metric, the numbers are already there. Kim Clijsters, a four-time Grand Slam champion, a former world number one, and one of the most respected analytical voices in the women's game, put the phenomenon in words that no marketing executive would have dared use. Speaking on the Love All podcast with Blair Henley earlier this year,
and deal with this life of being, Michael Jordan in the Philippines.
Clijsters said Eala has to deal with, and this is a direct quote, "this life of being like Michael Jordan in the Philippines."
People just think it's online and it's in the news and everything. It's not easy.
She followed it with a warning. It's going to be very important for her to be protected a little bit from the craziness that comes with all of that, and to keep focusing on what she has to do. That is not a fan writing on a forum. That is Kim Clijsters on a podcast comparing the shape of Alex Eala's fame to Michael Jordan's. Clijsters went on to describe the tactical reasons opponents struggle with Eala, her left-handedness, a backhand she considers even more dangerous than the forehand, her ability to combine defensive movement with sudden aggression, what she called a pit bull mentality. But the Michael Jordan line is the one that carries, because Michael Jordan in the Philippines is not a comparison about basketball. It is a comparison about the total commercial saturation of a single athlete inside a country of 115 million people. And that is exactly what sponsors are pricing. There is a specific market logic to what Louis Vuitton, the real one, not the fake $5 million Instagram version, and any other luxury brand looks at when it looks at Alex Eala. It looks at the Philippines, yes, but it also looks at the Filipino consumer base in the United States, in Canada, in Japan, in Saudi Arabia, in the United Arab Emirates, in Singapore, in Australia. It looks at Southeast Asia writ large. It looks at the fact that when Eala played in Dubai in February of this year, the arena was full, and it was full of people who had bought plane tickets from places that are not Dubai. Emma Raducanu is the comparison the sponsorship trade press keeps reaching for, and it is a comparison Tennis 365 made explicit in its March coverage. Both players sit at the intersection of tennis performance and cross-continental cultural interest. Both have fan bases that show up in numbers disproportionate to their rankings. Raducanu's 2021 U.S. Open win triggered an endorsement wave estimated in the tens of millions before her ranking had stabilized. Eala, per Sportico, is already inside that same commercial tier without the U.S. Open win, without any main tour singles title, in fact. She won her first WTA-level singles trophy at the WTA 125 event in Guadalajara in September of 2025, becoming the first Filipina to win a WTA Challenger-level tournament, which is a milestone but not a main tour title. The endorsements arrived first. The trophies are still catching up. None of this means the on-court doubts have gone away. When Eala lost to Jasmine Paolini in the Wimbledon round of 16 on the 6th of July, 6-4, 4-6, 6-3 in Reuters' account on a baking hot afternoon, the reminder was immediate. She is still a player who can be outlasted in a decisive third set by a top 10 opponent. Earlier this year, after a 3-set loss to Alicia Parks at the Australian Open, Clijsters noted some fans turned on her sharply enough that Rafael Nadal publicly stepped in to defend her. The vulnerability is real. She is 20 years old. She has been dealing with a level of scrutiny most players her ranking never see, and the same crowds that make her commercially valuable also make every loss louder than it would otherwise be. But that is precisely why the sponsors are not waiting. The market has decided that the volume of attention around Alex Eala is not a bubble to be corrected. It is a category to be captured. The 7 women list that Sportico published for the July 2025 to June 2026 window is one of the most exclusive commercial rooms in professional sport. It contains Coco Gauff, who has won 2 Grand Slams. It contains Aryna Sabalenka, the world number 1. It contains Iga Swiatek, a 5-time major champion. It contains Naomi Osaka, whose off-court earnings have made her the highest-paid female athlete in the world in multiple prior years. And now it contains Alex Eala, a 20-year-old ranked 32nd in the world, who beat the defending champion at Wimbledon 3 days ago and lost her next match, and who, on any technical accounting, has not yet done the thing that is supposed to unlock the door to that room. She is in the room anyway. The door was opened for her early by a market that saw something the rankings had not yet certified, and by an audience that traveled to watch her play in 3 different continents before the sport's official machinery caught up. That is the room she is in now. And whether or not she wins a Grand Slam next year or the year after or ever, the sponsors are not leaving it. They are already inside, holding the door.